Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to Wellness Week. Hey. I got a star-studded cast. I mean, does it get any better? I don't know. So, Wellness Week, today we are talking to a dietitian. I've been trying to track down a dietitian for some time now. Magnus, can you hear us?
I can hear you. Perfect.
Magnus, Phyllis the Dietitian, Magnus, the biochem PhD. So, welcome everybody to Wellness Week. I wanted to have a dietitian on for a while, so doing some investigating. A big shout out to our mutual friend Nikki D for making this happen. So before we get started, I just wanted to say that I wanted to get a dietitian on Wellness Week because, and I was just telling Phyllis this off camera, not to gas her up, but the job of a dietitian, in my opinion, doctors are very important. Nurses are very important, and dietitians are right there, equally as important as a doctor, as a nurse, right there. And it baffles my mind how, and some of my best friends are doctors, they can write a script and not mention or write something to go see a dietitian. Take your pills, take your dietitian. It should be like that, period. So, because I was saying before also, Magnus, you know this, that food, not all the time, but I think most of the time, food, what we eat, puts us in the hospital. Type 2 diabetes, certain types of cancers, heart disease, 9 out of 10 times, I would say. Not every single time. But so that's how important food is. And that's why I wanted to have Phyllis, the dietitian, on. So Phyllis, how are you?
I'm good. Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Oh, thank you for making the time. So I want to just start off with a basic question. And, I kind of didn't know this myself, actually, up until recently. And I'll let Magnus, because he had a question too, but I just wanted to, before I forget, for the viewers. So what is a dietitian?
So in order to become a registered dietitian, you go to an accredited university. I graduated Montclair State University. So you major in human ecology with a minor in dietetics, get your bachelor's degree. Then you have to apply to the internship. So it's an internship that's recognized by the state. And then when you get accepted, it's a full year, full time. When you finish the internship, you apply for the state board and you sit and take the boards. And if you pass, you become registered, and then you are a registered dietitian.
Okay, cool. Because I'm guilty of, being ignorant. And like I said, not too long ago, I didn't know the dietitian was that involved. And I'm kind of asking you a rhetorical question because I wanted you to tell the people who are watching who might not know. But it's a serious job, and it's as serious as, being a nurse or a doctor. And, that's why I, in addition, put it in that level. Magnus, I didn't want to diss you, Magnus. So I want to make sure that you asked the question that you wanted to ask, because I have a tendency to keep talking. So Magnus, what did you mentioned it to me. You had a great question. Go ahead, Magnus, take it away.
Hi, Phyllis. Quick question. So, or this is actually not probably a longer answer though. When you receive a new patient, or how does that work? What do you look into? What are the red flags you're looking for at the patient, and so on?
All right. So you decide in college what route you want to go, and if you want to go a clinical route, it's the route I just described. So now I'm able to work in a clinical, a healthcare setting, meaning I could assess, evaluate, and counsel patients with their illness. So right now I'm in a community hospital down in Hudson County, and I assess, in my morning routine, I assess every patient that comes in. I put them into a category, either low, medium, or high nutrition risk. So high nutrition risk, I see within 24 hours. Medium, like a medium risk, maybe 2 days to 3 days. And then low risk, we can see them in 5 to 7 days. So the high risk, you're talking about, we get residents from nursing homes, their skin is broken down, they're malnourished. We have people on dialysis. Maybe they had an episode coming into the hospital for another problem. Newly diagnosed diabetics that could actually end up in the ICU. So any disease that has a nutrition implication. Okay. So I assess them, I see what their needs are, and everything is done in electronic medical record, what I do. I write a full assessment on the patients I see. So that's an overview.
Right. Before I forget too, if anybody's watching, if you have any questions, you could also contact Phyllis the dietitian. Her email is linked below on her screen. So yeah, Magnus, did you want to add anything else before I start rambling on?
Yeah. One thing that I'm kind of interested in. So what do you do? Like, do you prescribe a full nutrition plan, or like, do you look at blood works and try to figure out where the bottlenecks are, if they need certain supplements or anything like that?
Correct. So now a part of my full assessment is, first part would be their BMI. Where is their BMI? Are they underweight? Are they healthy weight? Are they overweight? Second would be lab work. I love lab work. Lab work tells me, I can tell you a whole story about someone through their labs, their blood work, I should say. Third would be their skin. Is there any breakdown or cuts or wounds or burns or anything like that? And then, of course, medical history. Do they have diabetes, high blood pressure, heart disease, renal disease, you name it? And then I compose a picture of the person, and that allows me to put a diet plan in place for them. And then that diet will depend on all those categories I just spoke of. And on top of that, what do they need besides a diet? Do they need a supplement? Do they need, actually, I can go far as I cover the ICU. So do they need nutrition support? And that's a whole nother world. That's tube feeding.
Right. Wow.
So we're talking about, when we talk about the ICU, critical patients, anyone that's on the vent or, not alert, they may, need a tube feeding.
Right. Wow. So that's amazing. And I know when you talked about the blood work, and I think, you correct me if I'm wrong, but, a patient may be able to tell you, oh, no, that's not true. It's not true. just looking at my skin or looking at my weight. But when you show factual, this is your blood work, your hemoglobin, the white cells, your HDL, LDL, that it's an ACE card. You can't debate that. So that's so awesome that, in 2021, that we have that technology. I'm sure 50, 60, 100 years ago, a dietitian wouldn't have had that ACE card to end the argument. No, you're doing this, and here's why. We have the stats, the blood is right, the work is right here. So that's a pretty powerful tool also to help the patient or even help us. Let me ask you this. We touched on this before we got on camera, but when doctors or people say, moderation, like, is there any way, Phyllis, Magnus is laughing, right? No, but I mean, because moderation means different things to different people. I go to Cheesecake Factory, I call me crazy, but I'll have a cheesecake, but I'll cut that in half. I'll eat that, and I'll either throw the other half away or I'll eat it another day, take it with me, because that's moderation to me. But somebody else may say, no, the whole cheesecake is fine, moderation. I'm just not having 2 pieces of cheesecake. So my question, I guess, Phyllis, is there a gram weight or a size or some kind of scientific thing or duration? Like, what is moderation? Is there a definitive academic correlation to the term moderation, or no? It's just a kind of a layman's term.
Well, it's not supposed to be like something you can measure. Moderation. It's a little bit common sense. It's a little bit what I like to substitute moderation with, maybe the word variety. Try to have variety in every meal, every day. So that means not too much of anything. That means combinations, and that means variety. So a little bit of everything should be okay. Right. A little bit. But what I like to do outside a clinical setting, if it's a counseling session, I like to ask somebody to journal for me. I like to see what they're doing, and that's where we start from there. But there's a lot when it comes to counseling, there's a lot of background.
Right. Okay.
But I think
awesome. Let me ask you, so what made you want to become a dietitian?
21 years, I'm a registered dietitian, and I still truly believe you are what you eat. Absolutely. It's amazing how nutrition can either help you or hurt you. And it's really, it's your future. How you eat is going to determine what happens to you in the future.
100%.
So I believe in it.
100%. And I always tell this story, and you can, I'm looking for Phyllis to pat me on the head and I say, I'm good. My doctor many, many years ago wanted to put me on a statin for high cholesterol. So I was like, wow, like, and I love this particular doctor. He's like, that's my boy. But I was like, really, doc? Like, so I didn't say anything. I took the script. I went home. I didn't fill it out. I didn't, get it filled. So I changed my diet. I knew that I was eating garbage. So I was like, I was kind of bummed out. I was like, damn, my doctor didn't even talk to me about it. He just gave me the pills. So I said, you know what? So I cut out a lot of my, just junk food, the carbs, the soda, upped my exercise, ate a lot of oatmeal. Again, made some modifications. A month down the road, I come back in, take a test. He's like, oh, the medicine's working. I'm like, no, it's not, doc, because guess what? I didn't fill the script. Maybe I shouldn't have done that. But my work came back perfect, immaculate. So he's like, good for you. I'm like, well, thank you, doc. So that is proof to me, like, you can, obviously there's, everyone has to work with their own situation. But my point is that food, my change in lifestyle kept me away from a statin, period. And so, and again, I'm not saying don't listen to your doctor. Maybe, maybe I shouldn't have done what I did. Anyways, my point though is that's the underlying premise is that, food can make and break. And it was breaking me. It was giving me that high LDL and problems like that. So, and again, I'm not saying to any of the viewers, take medical things into your own hands, listen to the doctors, or maybe talk to your doctor. I'm not giving advice, medical advice. I'm just saying my story. But let me ask you this also, Phyllis. So, how bad is soda? Like,
soda is pure sugar. All sugar, no matter what form, too much will damage you in many ways. Your artery health. I mean, sugar too much can act like plaque. It can actually lead to most diseases, believe it or not. Besides diabetes, cardiovascular health could take a beating too.
Right.
So even if you have diet, I mean, you're still going to get the phosphoric acid, which is not good for the kidneys. So this is where I say tiny bit, little bit, just
yeah.
You feel like,
sounds like don't drink it, or maybe once a week. But
yeah, the minimum, the most.
I know I probably speak for both of you. I have friends that live on that stuff, like it's a daily, and they think it's cute, but.
I see people that do not even eat that much, but they drink so much either iced tea or soda, and they have developed diabetes from that.
The juicy drinks, right? That's the other thing, because people, and I thought this too. Oh, I'm having an iced tea. That's not soda, so that's fine. But it's the same thing without the fizz.
You see the same thing. Yeah. You see the same thing now with coffee drinks, because people put so much syrup and all those like sugary things in it too, and cream and all that. So black coffee doesn't exist anymore almost. I mean,
correct.
And when you start looking at it, like one of those like drinks from whatever famous Seattle-based coffee shop, it's almost half the intake of calories and way more of sugar and fat that you should have in several days.
Correct.
So, and you see people like gulping down 2 of those a day, and they're wondering why they have problems with their health and they're like with their weight. I always recommend people don't drink your calories, eat them instead.
Exactly. Absolutely. And yeah, with the diet recall, I see a lot of newly diagnosed diabetics, and I ask them right away, what do you drink all day? And 9 out of 10 times they're drinking soda or sweetened iced tea.
Right. Let me ask you also along that line, and I just stopped this about a couple months ago. I cut my bread intake by like 98%. I'll have bread, but I used to have bread every single day. Your bagel, your toast, your whatever. Phyllis, I was baking my own bread from scratch, because I was like, oh, this is great. And anyways, long story short, I got off of it because my triglycerides were through the roof, and I couldn't figure out why. Turns out carbs process can be a problem. Anyways, how bad is bread? Because I'm Italian, and it was a very sad day when I cut the bread out. But go ahead. How?
Absolutely. The biggest topic for discussion is carbs. I don't think you need to eliminate your carbs. I just think you need to truly replace all the white starch with whole grains and try to eliminate the white sugar completely.
So that's your bagels, your bread, your pizza, your pasta.
Try to, yeah, absolutely choose whole grains whenever you can. Absolutely.
What about vegetables? Because there are vegetables that have carbohydrates, correct?
Yes. Your starchy vegetables, like you mean your corn, your peas, your carrots, those?
Yeah, I mean, my point is, like, now I try to get 90% of my carbohydrates from vegetables, not from bread.
And with produce, it's the fresh, anything that has the skin is the fiber. Fresh is always best. Frozen's not that bad either, but it's the cooking process. And when you buy canned products, anything that's, processed, that's when you're going to probably lose the fiber, and the fiber is all the benefits. Not only do whole grains have vitamins and minerals, but the fiber, two types, soluble and insoluble. Soluble acts like a sponge. It can soak up cholesterol in the body and rid the body of cholesterol, extra cholesterol. Insoluble acts like a broom in your intestines. And that's how these fibers keep your GI healthy, your cardiovascular system healthy. They're important. If you choose white starch, you're just getting calories, no nutrients, usually no vitamins or minerals, usually no fiber.
Right. So, that was my next question. What is the difference between an empty calorie and a full calorie? Magnus and I have spoken about that in the past, but some people might not know this. So they think, oh, well, 100 calories is 100 calories. That's not true. A Kia is not a Ferrari. So what's the difference between an empty calorie and a full calorie?
And just perfect timing. White starch, white sugar. All it's going to give you is calories. It's not going to give you nutrients, vitamins, minerals, fiber. It's just going to give you calories and no added benefit. So why not try to get your calories from a source that's going to give you healthy nutrients?
Right. Magnus, is there anything you want to add to that before I go on to the next question?
Yeah, that's another thing. First, also, like, fibers is also super important for your gut microbiome. I mean, without fibers, you're not like, the diversity of your gut flora is very important. So that's why you want to eat as like diverse as possible when it comes to vegetables and fruits too. Yeah, I mean, it's the same thing. Juicing is pretty popular too now, and that's another sad thing because you're removing all of the fibers, which you also need. I mean, like, don't get me wrong, I think juicing is great in certain things, but if you actually use the whole fruit instead, that would benefit you even more for your health. So, great point. It's the same thing. Like, you're looking at it like all the processed carbohydrates, the white sugars, and then also a lot, like, another thing that I also try to say is all these basically processed vegetable oils that are usually quite bad for you too. If you cut those three out, you're pretty much ahead of 95% of the people.
Right. Now, Phyllis, let me ask you this. I'm sure you get this at the hospital, and I have people in my circle that pull this one. I work out every day. I can't understand why I can't have the six-pack. All I do is work out, but I can't get rid of my gut. I work out every day, but I can't lose weight. Why?
Yeah, and that's when I ask them for a diet recall or for them to start a journal, and I need to see what they're doing, because 9 out of 10 times they don't realize what they're doing that's causing either weight gain or fluid gain. They could have a diet very high in salt and they're retaining fluid. And that's going to show a little bit more bloated, and you're not going to have that ripped look at all.
Right. Okay.
So,
yeah. And then, by the way, if you're just tuning in, you're on Wellness Week. My name is DJ Anthony. We're talking to Phyllis the Dietitian and Magnus, our biochem expert, and we're talking about food and how food is medicine or food can be poison. And we were just touching on some of the things how food can make and break us. So, and we were just touching on, again, the exercise component of sometimes you can exercise so much, but why aren't you getting in shape per se? And again, the fuel that we put in our bodies is not helping that process of working out. So, and I know we're coming down here to the last few minutes. My other question that I had also was, what about, and I didn't know this till recently, this also broke my heart. There is hidden sugar in everything. I'm a big fan of ketchup. I mean, I put that on everything. And then I'm looking at the back of the ketchup. I'm like, what? 17 grams? Like, it was like someone told me my parents aren't my parents. Like, I thought I could trust you, ketchup. And I'm just like, it is so insidious, so prolific. I mean, two things. So, yeah, how prolific is sugar in our packaged products, Phyllis?
Well, there's a couple things. If anything is coming in a package, there's something that's keeping it fresh. There's also something that's giving it flavor for a long time. Packaged foods, you just have to know offhand, it's not a natural food source if it's a packaged food. The thing I'm more concerned about in packaged food is probably the partially or hydrogenated oils. That's your trans fats, and that is the fat that your body doesn't really truly break down like it should because it's a man-made fat. So packaged foods, just look at the ingredients. The first 5 ingredients are the base, the bulk of the product. So make sure it's words that you understand and know and sounds like a food and not an additive.
Right. Okay. Excellent. Yeah. And that's the other thing I think, I know you're preaching to the choir, to you, Magnus, and you, Phyllis, but I've forced myself to read the labels. Even if I'm going to eat the crap, I'll eat the crap. But at least I'm reading the label. I'm like, okay, I know what I'm in for, and I'm just going to eat it. So, and by the way, I want to let people know, and I always tell Magnus this, and you know this, Magnus, and I told Phyllis this. I'm not sitting here pontificating like, oh, I eat a celery. I have pizza. I have my cake and my cookies and the grande latte, 9 squirts of whatever. So, I'm not saying don't live life, but I know for me, it's been more like, hey, 6 days on, 1 day off, 6 days on, 1 day off. I'll have that day. And I know sometimes people would say, well, maybe, moderate within the day, but I don't know. My opinion, I think most people can understand and swallow, oh, okay, I'm good for 6 or I'm good for 5, bad for 2. I think that's a little easier than trying to parse things out meal per meal. I don't know, to each his own, but that's just me. But also when they ask this, Phyllis, Can a dietitian tell, you talk about blood work, can certain things be discerned about someone's inner health by analyzing saliva or hair or other, ancillary factors?
I'm sure, but I don't need to have that as a component of my job.
Right.
But
yeah. Okay.
For me, I would say this. I'd say lab work tells me 80% of what I need to know.
Right. Blood's the best.
Yeah.
Right. And in closing too, so sugar, because you hear this too. A lot of products will be like, now made with real sugar, as opposed to like corn syrup. That's a good thing. I mean, this is a little bit of a rhetorical question, but is there any, aside from tasting good, is there any nutritional value, anything? Because people say, well, sugar's not good, but I'd make the argument, not only is it not good, because not good's a neutral thing. No, sugar is actively detrimental. Is there anything good about sugar, Phyllis?
No, I believe not.
Table sugar, I'm talking about the white sugar, not sugar from an apple or something like that, but right. So putting sugar in a coffee or putting pancake syrup, sugar, there's no, right. Okay, good. You heard it there, folks. All right.
Yeah, I'm not sure about percentages, but I know that I think one of the greatest diseases of all time is diabetes.
Type 2, yeah.
Yeah, type 2. Type 2.
And type 1 too, but type 1 is you're born with that, right? Type 2 is what we give ourselves.
The root of that evil is sugar, starch, white sugar.
It breaks my heart because, talking to some family members who have diabetes, and I think sometimes people think, well, no, you just get it when you get older, or you just get it. It's kind of like a bad luck thing. And I said to this person, no. I go, listen to me. This guy is not getting type 2 diabetes. I'll get hit with some other disease, but not that one, because I'm just not having it. That's not happening, period. And so that's empowering, though, because we don't have to succumb to that. And that can thwart a lot of problems, from heart disease and cancers. Again, not that you're going to be living forever in a perfect health, but you can lower your odds. I'm sorry, Magnus, you had something you want to say?
Yes, Phyllis, quick question. Do you also have some kind of interview with your patients or not, or is that down the road?
Correct. In a clinical setting, if any of my patients are alert and oriented and they can communicate, then yes, an interview is part of my assessment process.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you know, I know Magnus and I both have, and you might have been invited to this, Phyllis, but I have a page on Facebook called the Food Motivation Group, because what Magnus is touching on, you know, meeting people, having a community, having a community to rely on. I think that helps a lot when you're trying to make a change in your diet or change in your life. When you go it alone, it's hard. You know, I think that's one of the reasons why some of these programs like Weight Watchers is typically more successful, because you have a community behind you. You don't walk alone. And so I know Magnus has his group. I have my group. We're together. We're all motivating each other versus just doing it alone. And it's hard if you have family or friends that are not helping you, but it's a lot easier when you have a community that's like, hey, you know, I'm struggling too, or whatever. In closing, thank you again, Phyllis. And who knows, maybe we'll have you on as a regular guest. I know that you're busy, so, you know, I'm just throwing it out there. But and so, Magnus, was there anything you want to say before we close?
Thank you so much for taking your time. It's always interesting to hear, like, from a little bit like your line of work, where you're at, like within a hospital, how it differs, kind of like, since I'm working with nutrition coaching, and that's the difference. I want to spell that out. Like, a nutrition coach do not work with like trying to solve sickness or sick people. We work with more healthy people that needs to kind of change their lifestyle a little bit more. So, but Phyllis, great information. We love to have you back. So
sure, I would love. Oh, thank you. I'd love to come back. So thanks for having me.
Thank you so much, guys. And thank everybody for watching. So thanks again, Phyllis, for your time. It was very informational, awesome. And we're going to be ending this. Thanks, everybody. Tune in tomorrow, because Magnus and I have our show. Unless, well, I got to check with Magnus's people.
Oh, we're on. We're on. Like,
okay, very good. Very good. Thanks, everybody. Have a good day. Signing off. 3, 2, 1. Bye-bye. Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.